Hey, welcome to Loose Change. They wouldn't let us go on spring break, so here we are. And we're glad we are. I'm Jim Evans. Thanks for being with us. Don't break away. We've got a great show coming up for you. First, what's going on? Hopefully we've broken away from winter. I think we have. But it went down swinging, didn't it? It's still on my mind, that cold blast we had for several days, or Arctic air. It was tough on a lot of people, like even at the wagon wheel. The cold was more biting than the bed bugs. That's cold, huh? But we know how the winter weather takes its toll on our infrastructure, our roads, of course. However, some people are taking advantage of it, like our local track and field coaches. What they're doing is taking their athletes out to Market Street and have them long jump over the potholes. So that's working out for them. Time change, of course, with the weather changing on daylight savings time now, and that's working for a lot of people, like especially in Washington, D.C., that extra daylight now gives them more time to drain the swamp. But spring break, you know, it's tough for a lot of students now because college is so expensive. Now, most of them can only go on spring broke. I mean, that's where they're at with it. Think about that, though. You want to go away on vacation like that, especially if you're flying. You have your airline ticket. You have your hotel, meals, beverages, bail money. It adds up. And, of course, with spring comes baseball, and not a moment too soon. In fact, most major league teams now have their guys all in place. Heck, even the Kardashians have their 40-man roster set. Hey, we're all set to talk about baseball and softball. East Side, that's on deck here on Loose Change. Hang around. Batter up.
From Armstrong, stay connected to the content you love. With the all-new EXP app, you can browse and manage your shows and set recordings for TV shows, movies, and series. Plus, you can stream your favorite networks directly from your DVR or with TV Everywhere. At home, the app also lets you transform your device into a second TV screen or remote control. Your content, your way, when you want it. EXP from Armstrong.
Welcome back to Loose Change. See, I wasn't kidding. Special guest, East Side, the head baseball coach at the East High Golden Bears, Jason Ray. Jason, thanks for coming in.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. It's great to be on your show. Known you a long time. It's been fun, and it's gonna be a great time to be with you today.
This is cool. What we like to have our victims or our guests do off the
Absolutely.
top is, for those who don't know, you're an out-of-town guy originally, but tell us where you're from. Where you went to school and how your career path took shape to get where you're at.
Sure, absolutely. I actually graduated from Toronto High School down around Steubenville in Toronto, Ohio. And I moved up here and went to Youngstown State University, graduated with my bachelor's degree in general studies and applied sociology, and I actually hold an integrated social studies Ohio teaching license, and I teach 6th grade social studies over at Austintown Middle School. But no stranger to the coaching world around here. I was head softball coach at Rootstown High School. I was also the assistant girls basketball coach up there that went to 2 straight district titles. I was on a Lisbon staff, the head JV baseball coach down there, and ended up winning 19 games or so down there. And then I coached up here in the Youngstown area as the Youngstown Babe Ruth coach in the high school all-stars with some notable names years ago. That we got all the way to the state championship game and got beaten, but we won the district and regional championship. But I had guys like Colin Reardon play from Poland, and I'm going to Ken, and Brad Ferraro and Ryan Trimber and Jake Noble. And those guys were just top guys, and guys that I still talk to today. And, you know, I see, not as much, but we see each other. And so just coming through the ranks, it's been great. And to be here now at the pinnacle, I think, of my career, to lead the baseball program at Youngstown East is, to me, pretty special. And, you know, your next guest, Kristy, and I have been friends for 15 years, and she's running the softball program over there, and it's nice that both of us are on the same page. And so far, it's been really, really good.
Great. Talk about, if you would, how your previous experiences coaching has prepared you to be where you're at right now.
Time management. I think time management is big. I think you always want to. I think when I first started coaching, I was always in the film room and or at the field or at the gym, and I didn't do a lot of family stuff. And now I've kind of switched that. Yeah, so I think the family is very important to me, and I've learned that from other coaches through the area. Guys like Brian Merrow, you know, just what you won't find a better guy than Brian Merrow over at East High. and he's taught me a lot over the last couple years, and it all starts at the top with Rick Shepis and Nick Safar and what they're doing, not to just to get this thing off the ground, but just to sustain it, and that's what they're doing, and we're accelerating the programs, and for them to have their trust in myself and Kristy means a lot to me.
It's really exciting times for the city schools now, East and Cheney. It's academically, but athletically, some really great things have happened, and it's something for you guys to continue that momentum, perhaps.
Absolutely, and a shout out to Cheney and Coach Martin, what he did with the basketball team over there. Just phenomenal, that run. I was at that game the other day. Just a phenomenal run by those kids over there, and what he's done and what he's starting to build, and what Brian Merrow's done, and Tanisha Franklin, the girls basketball coach at East High School, is top notch, and she's building that program. I actually announced some games for them this year and did some scoreboard stuff, and I watched them progress as they went through. So it's building. And Tracy Kane does a great job as the AD over there, and Jeremy Batchelor, the principal, is just there. You won't find, again, one of the best principals I've ever been around. So I think I have my work cut out for me because the bar is now being set, and my kids and I want to set that bar with those kids as well.
We don't want to exclude the state championship rugby team they had last year, as well as the state indoor track champions we just had.
Absolutely. I was going to mention
that.
That's amazing for their first year out.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, I'm going to the state basketball tournament next week with Kevin Kyler, the head basketball coach and then an indoor track coach and outside track coach at East, and he's been a big time, become a very good friend of mine. And we talk all the time. Matter of fact, before I came on the show today, him and I chit chat a little bit. So it's all a big. I like it when I talk about family. I mean that because all of us we're all good coaches. I want to say, but we're better friends and we're like family over there. And to me, that means a lot. And that's what Shep and Nick and Tracy and those guys are doing over there, and hopefully get us to where we need to be to the next level.
And as all good coaches will say, it's first and foremost about the kids.
Absolutely. The kids are what makes this go. We have 20 kids out for the baseball program this year, which is great. Which is the most we've had at East. I was the assistant coach at East last year, and then Shep gave me the program this year. And we're only going to go so far as our seniors. Our seniors have done a tremendous job, and they're working tremendously hard. We have a lot of young kids. But to have 20 in the program, we actually are going to have a JV team. We didn't think we'd have a JV team, but as of today, I talked to Rick a little bit ago, and we're going to schedule some JV games. So to me, the more they can play, the better it is. And the motto this year for the kids is go the distance. Because last year, they didn't win a game, and we never played 7 innings, ever. So for us, I thought that was a good motto because we want to get to 7 innings. And then my motto for the following year is going to be swing for the fences because we're getting closer. Once you go the distance, and then you can swing for the fences. And then the third year is going to be we have arrived because it's part of my 3-year plan and vision for the program. And I told those seniors just yesterday at practice, I said, I hope you come back in 2 or 3 years and we've got this thing where we want it. And you guys are going to set the groundwork, and we're going to go after this thing. And the schedule is conducive this year to us winning some ball games, and we're going to stay in some games, and it's going to be fun.
Good. What do they have to do to go to the distance? What are you working on to get them to that initial goal?
Well, I think it all starts with our pitching staff. Our pitching staff's been down the last couple of years, just not a lot of experience. Yeah. The one thing I will mention, kind of off the subject, we didn't have a feeder program the last few years, but that's one we brought Little League baseball and feeder baseball back to Youngstown, starting actually this May with the Glacier Dome and with the Boys and Girls Club, and then our junior high programs. We're going to have a baseball feeder league. To me, that helps me. That makes my life so much easier. So the first time kids are seeing a baseball and a bat are not when they're freshmen. It's going to be when they're hopefully 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. So it all starts down there, and that's why I hope my high school kids, I'm hoping this summer we can actually run a youth camp and see what we're doing and get the kids involved in baseball. But it's all about the kids, and the kids are buying into everything that we're doing so far. And to me, I have to work just as hard as they are, and if not harder. But they're just excelling every day from 4:45 to 7:15. They go to school late, and then they don't get on a bus to go home till 7:30 at night. But they're working their tails off, and I cannot thank my kids enough, especially my senior class this year.
Good. We can't mention everyone, but who are going to be your key core guys you're going to rely on?
I think Dante Hurst is probably one of my all-around better baseball players. He's a gym rat when it comes to baseball. He's been around the program the last 2 or 3 years, so he knows what my expectations are, not just on the field but in the classroom as well. Kevin James was on the football team as a center. He'll probably play third base for me. Debo Partridge probably be my first baseman. He plays well. Terry Berry at second. We have some people. Carlos Rosa, he's only a sophomore, but I looked at him yesterday and I said, Carlos, I said, I talked about the 3-year vision. In 2 years, when you're a senior, I said, this is your team. We have arrived. And he's just a natural athlete, natural baseball player. He can pitch, he can catch. Good. So what I like about this team is there's a lot of moving parts, and we're trying to fit everybody together. Where last year we just kind of said, go here, go there, because they didn't know how to play. And Coach Faldy tried his best, and we tried, but it was just the first year out. But this year, these kids are really competing for spots, and that's what I like. So I've got a lot of competition on every day for starting roles, and it's a varsity program. And it's not just, it's a fun program, but it's also a varsity program, varsity practice, and that's where we're going to run it.
With the inexperience that you have, so to speak, it's really to your advantage to have those moving parts that you can integrate people at different spots.
It is. It's actually year 2 for the program, so that helps. They have a year of experience under their belts. I was able, Miss Kane and Kristy, kind of gave me the job to build the schedule. So I dropped some teams because of the schedule with Cheney and East and how the kids are now split, and it's 2 schools, and that's difficult, but yet it's kind of easier as well when it comes to busing and things like that. And everything's in one school now, and everything's one school at Cheney as well. So that helps. They want to. They're just competing for time, and to me that's the best thing. And with our schedule was kind of we're not playing a Division I schedule anymore. Last year we played Warren Harding and Champion and Fitch and Boardman and all these big time schools, and we were just getting our brains beat in, to be honest with you. And not going to happen this year. Now we're playing quality teams this year, but teams that are more conducive to our level and I don't want to say our talent level, because I'm not sure what those other teams have, but smaller schools number-wise. We're playing the Sebrings and East Palestine, and we are playing Rootstown, who's good, and Southern. So we are playing, and I guess we're playing the city title game. We're playing Cheney for the city championship. This year we're playing Louisville over at Steen Park. So we get to play there. And then probably our biggest trip of the year, we get to go back to my hometown. We get to go to Toronto, which I consider, maybe I'm prejudiced here a little bit, but the best program in the state of Ohio. Because they've won state titles, they've been there, been there, done that. $1 million baseball complex. It's amazing. But I want to take my kids down there, not to get embarrassed or anything like that, to show them that this is where we want to be, and to show that I'm not scared. I'll play anybody. And so we get to play them on a Friday night in April under the lights down there, about 7:00 game, and go down there and see what it's all about. My kids aren't going to be, Youngstown kids aren't intimidated. They're going to go down there and win a baseball game. They're not going down there just to lay down, and I appreciate that. We got tough, hard-nosed kids in both the baseball and the softball program, as you'll see by our softball coach.
Well, you mentioned your schedule and more selective schedule this year, but you want it to be where your kids can be competitive in every game.
Absolutely. I think we will be competitive. I think we'll play some competitive baseball games. We open March 25th, weather permitting, with Brookfield. Then we have Matthews. And then we have Lowville, and then we play one of the city. Right now we have 2 games scheduled with Cheney. It'll be a 2-game series to see who can win the city title. And then if it goes to game 3, then we'll schedule a game 3 for all the marbles for the city title.
You guys, as baseball and softball coaches, we haven't had the best spring weather around here in recent seasons.
We had snow last year.
Yeah, and of course, that doesn't affect football, basketball, obviously, and track gets out there most of the time. You guys really are affected by that more than other sports, it seems, and that's a challenge that you have to deal with and overcome, isn't it?
Yeah. Tomorrow's the first day we're going to be outside. We've been in the gym for the past 3-4 weeks. We haven't been outside at all, but I don't want to get them outside too early because there's so many things that we need to work on inside. They need to learn my coverages and things like that, and how to hit in the cage. So for us to go outside tomorrow, the kids are getting excited, but it's all about building the house. And we've also adapted the last few days, one team, one dream. And that's and the kids brought that. They brought that to me. No, I didn't bring that to them. One team, one dream. And to me, that's bringing it all together with Go the Distance.
You mentioned about getting out there and having fun, and that's so key with kids at this level.
Absolutely, the kids are having a ball.
Yeah.
And they're itching to get on the field. They're itching to get outside. So if I can keep them kind of in that controlled aggression, Our behavior's fine, our grades are fine, they're doing well in the classroom, and I thank our teachers and our staff and our administration for that. These kids are doing the right things, and hopefully within the first 2-3 years here, we're going to get this thing going of where I expect it, and where Coach Olinik expects it, and I have to before I go here, I got to admit to my assistant coach Michael Rome, who was a standout player for me at Lisbon High School. He actually just graduated from Teal College. It was a pitcher there. It was a 4-year starter, and he's done a phenomenal job with our kids, and I'm excited to have him on board as my assistant coach.
Boy, it sounds great. I wish we had more time, but we're going to let the softball step up.
You'll love Kristy. She's great. She's great.
But,
She's great.
Thanks so much, Jason, for coming in. Great
Appreciate
to see
it.
you, and best of luck this year, and hopefully we have a chance to talk to you again.
Thank you. Paws up. Go Golden Bears.
All right, man.
All right.
All right. All right, we'll be right back. Softball's on deck. We just mentioned that. You're on Loose Change.
Armstrong would like to thank our customers for being part of the Zoom Internet journey. 2 decades of speed, reliability, and innovation. The future is faster with Zoom.
Welcome back to Loose Change. Again, I have the pleasure to be joined by the head softball coach of the East High Golden Bears, Kristy Olinik. Kristy, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
As we did with Jason, what we like to do is have you tell us a little bit about yourself. You're from the area, where you went to school, and how your career path took shape, and how you got to where you're at right now.
I graduated a Red Devil, so I'm definitely from
Camel.
Camel. Yes. I graduated in '96 under Pandy Rosem and Mike Chambers, and then I went out to Kent State, which I took up law enforcement, and played there for a couple years. Ended up giving up playing to go into being a correctional officer. So I started in there. Eventually it led me into working in the schools with the kids. I started the criminal justice program at Chaffin about 5 years ago. This is my 6th year teaching, so we do a little bit of criminal justice and firefighting. And then I got offered the head coach for softball.
Great. Well, you're a correction officer, so you can keep Jason in line.
I'm going to
Maybe.
need that. I got my cuffs on my back pocket all the time.
What position did you play? How did that go for you, Camel and then Kent?
Well, Camel, as you know, we were solid back then, but when it came to my junior and senior year, most of our players that were talented level had graduated. So I ended up playing pitcher or catcher. So I pretty much, when I went to Kent State, played utility. So I was outfield, infield.
How was that experience at Kent?
Actually, it was great. I didn't have a full ride, of course. Camel's kind of smaller schooled, but I did walk on and ended up with a full ride the second year. The dynamics and everything as a team of walking on is exactly just like coming into East and walking on, nobody. It's a whole new program. So it was definitely an experience. I coached a little bit at Lordstown with my sister for a couple years out there. And eventually I still play now. So this is a 40-year-old that's probably going to play with a walker. Yes.
Hey, whatever it takes.
Yes. So I've been playing softball my whole life.
Well, I wouldn't catch you at 40. So talk about how your playing and coaching experience has given you the foundation to be in the position you're in right now.
Well, I definitely think the most important foundation is I actually teach in the schools. So I'm very familiar with a lot of the students. They know me. They know how I work and how I manage my program. I do run the law enforcement program too, so that also helps a little bit too. So getting to know the girls and getting to know, I think any student is your first foot in the door. As far as respect and all that, that's gained normally before I come in. When walking into the field, I do the same thing. So my students know that respect is there and the hard work that they put in comes from that. So it's just a start overall. Like Jason had mentioned, it's a young program. There is no outside sports involved. They literally are, some of them, picking up a bat and ball for the first time.
Wow. So there's a really big learning curve involved here.
There is, but not one that I'm afraid to jump over.
Obviously. So what, given the circumstances, what will be your expectations of your group?
Right. My expectations, I don't want to compare anything to the past. That's the past. That's under a different coach. So my overall expectations would be to see a talent increase from beginning to end. So those ones that do struggle with the throwing, I want to be able to get them to the point by the end of the year that that's not an issue anymore. Those that have maybe never swung a bat, I want to work on the dynamics and the techniques with them. So it's a learned process so they can develop that by the time they hit their senior year.
What would be your, you probably maybe just answered this, but perhaps if you have your coaching philosophy or your goals, maybe as Jason talked about having that 3-year plan. Anything along those lines?
Wow, I just got my first year in. You're killing me already. Overall, no. I do have a 3-year plan, of course. My first year is, like I said, techniques, dynamics,
Okay.
getting them to understand the reasons for hand placements, the reasons for throwing. I mean, you're literally starting from step 1 is in throwing a ball 2 feet from each other. So by building on that, my plan and my goal is definitely to have a more successful year than last year. I think where there's a little hidden closet back there that a lot of people don't expect. So I think once we take the field, it's going to be a jaw dropper for some people. I really think. So building off of that, my goal is to have success this year. That's my main goal.
Yep.
And I think that's definitely workable. I don't have my philosophy like Jason does yet, but listening to what he was saying, I do like that philosophy. Getting the work in now is what I focus on.
Obviously, you want to be competitive, but how would you envision? What would you envision the personality of your team? What do you want your team to be once it gets to that point where you'd like to achieve?
I think my team is definitely going to be that someone that's no longer where you normally hear, hey, you're playing Youngstown, you're playing East, and they're like, oh, here comes that easy win.
Yeah.
It's going to be that here comes East, and we're ready. So overall, I mean, it's going to take, I want to say a lot of work, but I think they're there. I think they really originally need to believe in themselves first, and that's foremost important. Once they believe that they have the talent to compete with all these other schools that, over the years have maybe, like Jason said, not been able to complete a game. I know they did face a couple of that last year. So I think their main philosophy this year is to believe in themselves first. Because once they believe in themselves, and then they'll believe in the coaching. I mean, we're all different, so we definitely have a diverse coaching staff. We're all new also. So I have Danny Cook that's been working with the Boys and Girls Club for over 15 years. He coaches softball during the summer. So he's real involved in the community. I just got a hold of Angela Locke. She's come from a D1 school as a phenomenal pitcher. So she's even working with the pitchers there too. That's definitely something they haven't had either. So with all of this put into play, by the time the end of the school year comes, and I think even before March 25th, our opening game, we'll be a team to reckon with.
What's the biggest challenge for you what facet of the game is the biggest challenge to teach, considering their inexperience level? Is it more pitching? Is it more hitting, fielding, all of the above?
You know what? I think it is all of the above on certain levels. We do have 3 pitchers, possibly a 4th. We have one that's injured, so we'll see what she has when her hand is healed. But I think pitching has always been focused, try to get it there. A lot of things I've heard from other coaches, especially over the past weekend, is East has always struggled finding a pitcher just to make it to the plate. So we're definitely working on that with accuracy and involving maybe 1 or 2 more pitchers for them to have that chance to compete at that level. And then I noticed with a lot of the new people, the hitting. A lot of them have never shown the dynamics of hitting. It's kind of like, get in there, do it. And I can see the fundamentals are lacking there. So I think once we work on that, and a lot of it, again, goes back to the confidence is really low.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like Jason said, you're playing those champion, and I mean, come on, they went to state, right? I mean, you're playing that Fitch and everybody that's been well developed for years, and these kids don't just walk on the field their 9th grade year. They've been playing since 7, 6. My daughter played in Austintown, so I mean, those teams are well developed. So I think honestly, just getting past the confidence is going to be their key, because once you have that, you can put your mind to anything.
Sure. Winning breeds winning.
Yes, it does.
Success brings success. Can you just touch on the dynamics of hitting, as you mentioned?
As far as
what might that be? How would you lay that out for them?
Well, definitely a lot of them are used to throwing just the bat to the ball.
Okay.
Try to throw the bat out and hit it.
Right.
So I'm pretty much getting them used to lining up their knuckles, relaxing a little bit in the plate, where they're not trying to choke the bat. And if it had a life, it would not last. That's for sure. And trying
soft hands.
Lining up their knuckles, getting their legs apart where they're not 5 miles apart. They're, shoulder length apart, relaxing, getting those knees bent. And then from there, it's more or less they have to learn how to be able to throw the bat to the ball. So you're not exactly, you want to keep everything tight and inside and keep it close. So that you can get on that inside pitch, you can get to that outside pitch, you can swing on that drop, that rise. So that's a couple of dynamics that we definitely are working on, and I think that will evolve more when we do have the pitchers that can come in and throw. I want them to see more live pitching. A pitching machine is a constant speed, constant way it's coming. So I think live pitching is something that they really need to get to, which having Angela there, 65, 70 miles per hour is what she's used to pitching. So even giving her the chance to get the kids in and going off of her where she has that rise, that drop, that changeup, she has phenomenal pitching. I think once they start building off of that and hitting off of that, their confidence will definitely come around.
Jason talked about the schedule for the baseball and the softball teams. Are you concerned about that at this point so much, who you're playing as much as we got to take care of ourselves first and then, let that play out in terms of, who you're playing? Obviously, you go out to play to win.
Right.
I mean, and be competitive and win. But
I think my main goal starting off is being new is definitely seeing what the other teams have. Where Jason's been around the sport, he's involved in it for years. I'm not. So he's more familiar with a lot of teams as far as that goes. I've definitely reached out to some of the coaches I know to get some input, see how they're going. So my main goal isn't really who we're playing or when we're playing. My main goal is to work each game individually, see where anything may be faults, maybe good things, and build from there. They're going to have a tough infield. I'm really happy with my infield as well as my outfield, but I definitely think that taking each game one step at a time and focusing on, like you said, the talents that I do see, things that I might not see, things that, I can tell you, hey, you're hitting this good, and then get in there and see a whole different dynamic on them. So my goal, and it's kind of like a teaching thing, is always to reflect. So I don't want to push ahead. I kind of want to reflect after the first game, see and build from there. And I think, like I said, by the second time around, they're going to wonder. They're going to wonder who East is.
Good. It's early on, but can you say at this point, and if you can't, that's okay. But do you have a team strength, in any particular area, or is it still just the?
No, I definitely see. I definitely have strengths in my infield. I have a solid infield. I'm really pleased with the infield. I do have 2 solid pitchers that I'm really pleased with how they're developing in the last 2 weeks. Angela just came on 2 weeks ago. So I think putting those together and putting that catching in there, and I have my few in the outfield that won't be playing in the infield, but will go out in the outfield. So I think, like Jason said, getting outside is one of my main keys. It's definitely a gym. It's kind of smaller, so I want to get outside and really start working on developing that aspect so those plays can get made.
And as I talked about with you guys, having to really deal with the weather more than other sports, have to, and it got to scramble a lot to get through the spring around.
It's 90 degrees every day.
Yeah,
Where
that's
have
what
you
they
been?
say. That's what they say. But that's something you really have to juggle that.
We do. So I'm hoping the season does open on the 25th. Again, if it doesn't, it's going to be definitely a cause of the weather. But again, they're going to learn to have to adapt to it anyways. I've coached in when snow flurries were coming.
Yeah.
I've coached in rain. I mean, other than that lightning strike, we're going.
All right.
So that's why I want to get outside.
Well, I can't thank you enough for coming in, joining us along with Jason. We can't wish you guys the best of luck enough, and I think it's fantastic what's happening here with the city schools, and to have great people like you and Jason and so many others involved. So best of luck, and thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Kristy Olinik. We'll be back to wrap it up right after we do this.
Armstrong would like to thank our customers for being part of the Zoom Internet journey. 2 decades of speed, reliability, and innovation. The future is faster with Zoom.
Really looking forward to baseball and softball now. Thanks to our great guests, Kristy Olinik and Jason Ray. Best of luck to the East High Golden Bears and all of our local baseball and softball teams. Thanks as well to the wonderful and beautiful Heidi Wagner and my beautiful mom. Thanks as always to Greg Roten and all of you. You can check us out on YouTube, of course. Armstrong, Loose Change. We'll check you out next time right here. Alexa, take us out.